So I've been having this dialogue with myself recently, and the reason why this dialogue is so important is because I had to have a maybe an honest moment with myself. I guess that's what you could call it, or what a person could call it. um, so I make these videos. I used to think I would make these videos for um, like a mixture of myself and outside sources. And I think in a way I still do make videos like this for myself and outside sources, but it seems the older I get, I'm so sorry, I don't know why I have a lisp right now. It's like I'm having a hard time speaking. I don't know if it's allergies or what. I watch myself back sometimes and I notice how often my eyes are moving and looking around, and I imagine that's probably really annoying for some people, but I would say the reason why my eyes drift and move around a lot, two things, right? Not two things, but like people that have a hard time maintaining eye contact, like a person that can read body language really well, they might be like, oh, that person's a liar because they're thinking about their story or they're pulling things from, from the air, right? So when you aren't a liar, but, you got a lot of wind in you, like fire, wind, I have a lot of wind element in me, and that Gemini ascendant and that Aquarius sun would be like, so it's interesting because it's not that I'm sitting here lying, obviously, like, you know what I mean? Because why would I make a video just to lie? But it's the fact that I sit here and I can see every different aspect or perspective of something, and so every time I'm trying to communicate, I find myself searching for the most accurate word to describe what I'm trying to describe. And so sometimes, like, just simple conversation or simple language doesn't feel like enough, or it doesn't feel truthful enough, because it's like, how are you feeling? I could be like, oh, I'm not doing so well. But if I'm like, no, actually, I'm not even angry. What it is I am, furious, right? But that fear, that not furious, but being furious could come from a place of fear, right? And that's turning into anger, but I've let it sit for so long, so now I'm actually furious. I'm not just angry, I'm furious. But anyways, I'm saying that to say that it's interesting as you get older and you play back some of the things that you've learned as a child. You play it back and you look at it from an adult lens. It's like, oh, I remember, like, as a kid, like when you are being bad, or if you see your siblings or your friends being bad, the adult would be like, why are you looking over there? What are you doing? Looking for your lie? Something like that. And it's funny because as an adult now, and I'm like, wow, first of all, you know how many ADHD kids probably are in class doing all this, because their mind is like just running. And so they're like, are you being bad? Are you, it's like, no, I'm distracted. And so now me in my adult state, and obviously, well, the older I get, the more I feel like my mental health is like breaking. It's like cracked glass. If you never take care of it, it just keeps cracking. And I do a lot of therapy, but I think that there's certain things that can stop cracked glass, but can't replace it, because there is a difference between a person's brain and glass, and the difference is you can replace it. But I can't replace my brain, so no matter how much I mend and mold and try to fix the things that may be wrong with me, no matter how much my mental health issues, I can fix the foundational emotional trauma that disturbed that, or that perpetuated that, or enhanced that mental illness, or caused it, because I wasn't always a little nutcase. Like, I'm sorry, I'm losing my train of thoughts. I'm thinking, why did I call myself a nutcase? So anyways, now in my adult mind, I look back and I think about myself, and I think about things that I've seen or saw as a kid, and as an adult, I'm like, oh, that's so interesting, because some kids really aren't lying. Some kids really aren't trying to be rude or disrespectful or searching for a lie. Some kids are lying. Some kids just have ADHD and they're like, I can't even listen to you discipline me because I'm thinking about it. Da, 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 da. You know what I mean? And then there's some, you know, kids like, I guess not. Well, I'm not a kid, but then there's, you know, the adult version of that. And you know, sometimes it just looks like, no, I'm just really thinking. I'm really processing. I'm really searching for the right thing because I don't want nobody to take what I said out of context. So it's like I'm looking for the fuck to give. No, I'm playing. It's like I'm looking for the right word, the right expression. Anyways, that took 5 minutes to explain that side note. So forget about that. Back to what I was originally trying to say. I had to have a come to Jesus moment with myself, and basically what I am now starting to understand. And I just recently turned 30 in February. What I'm now recently really understanding and what I'm taking to heart with everything that I do, like this all started with me being a writer. I've always had a good imagination, a creative imagination. But I've also been of very sound mind. It's how you could have a creative person like me be in the military and, you know, have a successful life up until, like I said, the right elements provoked my historical mental health issue, right? And by historical, I meant like bloodline, not me, just bloodline. So I have spent years finding myself because I lost myself, and I'm noticing that unless you're in a position where your identity is either taken away from you, and so for me, I knew in middle school, if not sooner, that I was well, back then it was just gay. Like, that was gay. I was a lesbian. I liked girls and all that kind of stuff. Now that I'm older and now that there's all of these new labels and things like that, I'm realizing, okay, so if we were on a spectrum, it'd be like a 70% gay, 30% I like boys, but I never fell in love with no boy. I've never been like, oh my God, this boy. It's always just kind of been like, you trying to have sex or what? And then that's only been of recently. So most of my foundational identity has been gay, right? Versus now, which would be, I guess, pansexual or whatever. Anyways, the point is living as like coming out as gay or whatever, not even coming out, but trying to love yourself while you're dealing with family that is very religious. Because those of you that do know, my father is a pastor. My mom was in the military, so I kind of had a strict upbringing in that sense. I'm not going to sit here and say strict, like couldn't do anything, because it wasn't like that. We were very spoiled, but we were spoiled within the confines of in what way they were going to spoil us. So don't get it twisted. This ain't no super sob story, right? It ain't no sob story. It's just my story. And so for me, it was really hard trying to love myself when I'm growing up with this understanding that gay people are going to hell. So that was the beginning of me losing my identity, because I'm suppressing a big part of myself and like walking around like, no, I'm normal. I'm like everybody else. You know what I mean? And if you're going to like, if your whole world, not whole world, but a majority of your world revolves around church and people that aren't like you, you're not like everybody else. So that can get really weird. And you're like, push it down, right? And you know, but I had a relatively normal life. It's the, you know, that's the little stuff. So I'm saying this ain't no sob story. I know it ain't the sobbest story in the world. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that to say my identity kind of was always in question, because I very early on established this mentality of don't accept yourself, right? This can't be who you are, because who you are goes to hell. So be somebody else, right? And so as I grow up with that mentality and I'm doing that and I'm trying to fight myself, really, you know, which is what everybody does anyways. But there's levels to that shit. So fighting myself, and then with the military stuff, you know, you also lose your identity again to join a community. And that wasn't bad or anything. You know, that was just part of, like, it's not like I didn't sign up for that. You know what I mean? But the military is also where, uh, you know, where I broke my brain. That's where suddenly I broke the normal levels of anxiety, like the healthy level, and shot into this little spaz thing that is just, which now, knowing more about astrology and knowing more about spirituality and knowing more about a lot of dynamics when it comes to like your design as a person, as your personality, but also as your body, just different aspects, y'all. Okay. And being a creative writer, so already having the imagination to be able to go deep into that Piscean world and kind of be like, what's out here? You know what I mean? That, all of that has brought me to this place now where I'm like, we are in this place where we are accepting our identity because we needed to reestablish it. So I spent time pushing, subsiding my identity. And so now it's like, okay, who are you? Because now you don't know who you are. You know, like that's a classic borderline problem. Now you don't know who you are. So who are you? And then on top of that, I have like this Gemini ascendant. That's why I'm like, this was always going to happen, because astrology is just like a map for your life. So it was always going to be this way. But that split in duality and trying to understand, like, well, what do you like? I like this, but I like this too, and that and all that. I'm saying all of that to say I have recently come to Jesus moment. And I think that a lot of Black people potentially have moments like this where maybe not, okay, actually scratch that. A lot of Black people have probably had moments where they're like really gung-ho, like, I'm Black and I'm proud, like Black people rule, you know, like Black people all this, Black people like that, you know, like we the shit, you know what I'm saying? And really trying to like be like, we're a community, because at one point we were, but then we fell apart. But part of that falling apart is because the Black community in itself fell apart. Like, part of the, like, what I'm trying to say is, I'm coming to a place where I'm realizing I don't fully identify with a Black community because I'm not just Black. So it's really hard for a bunch of multiracial people to come together and agree to something when we all have various degrees of our multiraciality. So let me try to explain this more. I am 70% African descent. I'm not going to give you all of it, right? But like 25% Nigerian, and then like 24% something else, and then like different averages, stuff in Africa, right? African American. But I'm 30% like European, well, I guess Native American, but that percentage isn't high enough. So basically I'm 70 30, right? 70% Black, 30% really white, because most of the rest of that is European stuff, although there is, like I said, there's Native American in there, but it's not enough. So I'm saying all that to say that as I dive deep into understanding myself, I realize that it's so easy to fall for a community, a group, because when you're looking for your identity, or when you're trying to accept who you are, it's you know, it can start internal, but it also can start physical. But it doesn't matter, because whether you start internal or physical, you're going to come around to them both, because you're finding yourself. And so part of establishing, I think, my physical identity now, because I feel like I've gotten to a place where I understand my mental side, even the Gemini ascendant, all the wind energy that I have in my mind, and then in this body, everything, I'm understanding where that's coming from. Even if I don't like that aspect about me, I'm like, okay, I know where it's coming from at least, so I can try to work with it better, right? So now I'm thinking about like my identity on the outside, and I'm sure a lot of African Americans are getting to this point, because it's hard to ignore how not African and not white a person is. And it's a weird place, because that one drop rule has been putting a lot of different types of people into the Black community by default. Like, oh, you got that one drop blood, and so now we have, like, not trying to be, I don't know if any of this is inappropriate, what I'm about to say, so let me know if it is. But it's like, oh, you have the one drop in you, so now we have a yellow, like a yellow breed coming into the black community, and it's like, she's a black girl, but she's not a black girl. This girl is a Meghan Markle. You know what I'm saying? And so if you put Meghan Markle in the same room as Spike Lee, even, there's a lot of differences in there. There's a lot of differences there, not just physically, so, but also like in their design, in their genetic makeup. And so I think that, of course, as like back in the day, black people were able and were able to be a stronger unit back then, because they were closer to literally being a unit. Do you see what I'm saying? It's like when they brought the slaves on the ship here to America, those people were still African. They were African, you know, so they could really commune together. But as that generation is whitewashed, for lack of a better term, as it's whitewashed and all kind of other washed, like with any other race, as it's whitewashed, now you're getting people that is like, I mean, I'm African, but I'm also Irish. You know what I mean? I'm also German. I have a lot of German in me. And I think a lot of African Americans do, which is like, ew. So I knew about my DNA, right? I knew about this for a while, but maybe like 2 years ago, I got the percentages and all that. So now I'm just getting to this point where I'm spending more time figuring out that identity, because I'm really starting to build my family tree for ancestor purposes, but it's turned into kind of a hobby to be like, maybe like the family historian in a sense. But something that keeps knocking at the back of my brain is like, are you going to address this? Are you going to address that you really wanted to be black so bad? Like, remember when you felt like you went to a white school? Because I remember I told you I was spoiled in average life. I just happened to be gay in a very religious family. So that's where my trauma came from. It wasn't from like lack of food, you know what I mean? It was like lack of being able to be myself. Which sounds like it is. It's what they say is white people problems. White people problems, middle class people problems, you know what I'm saying? I'm not here to shit on nobody's pity party. Like, I'm just saying that was my story. But so it feels like it's knocking at the back of my head, like, as you find yourself, it's almost like my white ancestors are kind of like, okay, we've been doing this. You've been doing this with your black side, and we think that's great, but at the end of the day, you can't ignore us. Or you could ignore us, but if you ignore us, then how does that play out in my physical body? How can I break family, like, how can I break bloodline curses when I won't even talk to the bloodline? You know what I'm saying? That might be getting real deep for some of y'all, and I'm sorry if this ain't the video that you like understand what I'm talking about, because I probably sound so crazy to you. You're like, I'm just here to watch a regular video. You know what I mean? My bad. But I'm saying that to say, I'm at this point now where I'm like almost like, how dare I be so gung-ho or so rah about being black, when it's like, what does that even mean? I mean, I know what it means. It's like, I know what it means. But with multiracial being such a thing now, it's starting to get real muddy in these waters. It's like, identify to black, but there's multiracial people that are the same percentage of white as I am, but the rest of them isn't African, the rest of them is Asian or something. You know what I mean? Like, they have their own community too, but it's getting real mixy potty in here. It's getting real mixed in here. You know what I mean? And for me, I'm just starting to realize that I've gotten so deep in history and so deep in like this esoteric stuff. That's that Scorpio moon in me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm getting deep. I'm just trying to find it. And that could also be that Venus and Pisces. But I'm getting to a place for me. Now, obviously not every black person or African American or whatever you identify as, not everybody's going to need to have this moment, and not everybody should even care, because it's not for everybody. I'm just at this place for me, and I guess I'm saying this for anybody else that may see this video and maybe I don't know, is thinking that way. Who knows? Fuck it. So I'm just getting to that place where I'm like, you know what? I can't keep acting like, not acting, but I can't keep, like, I can be mad at a race, but it's one thing to be mad at a stranger. It's another thing to be mad at your great great granddad. You know what I'm saying? Like, and the great great granddad is a stranger, but it's like, how when his blood is running in me, is he really a stranger when literally this nigga is in my body? Do you see what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. It's like when you really think about it, the way the whole world is connected, you know what I mean? It's like some of us have never seen iron, but literally there's iron in your blood. So is it really that much of a stranger? So I'm just like, I'm getting to a place where I'm like, I'm not even on the tip of, and I don't think I ever was that far, but I'm getting less and less of even wanting to get on the tip of like, black people gotta band together, because I'm starting to realize, what kind of black person are you? Because your kind of black person and my kind of black person are probably two different kind of black people. For real. You know what I'm saying? For real. Because even when you think about how genes break down, like me and my brother have the same parents, but I could have more Irish DNA than him, because I could have got more from my dad than he did, because that's how genes work. It doesn't split. Like, they don't give the same amount to each child. It's like, oh, you get 6, you get 6, you get 6. It's like, nah, it's like, I got 20 to give. I'm gonna give you 10. I'm gonna give you 5, or no, I'm gonna give you 7 or something, and I'm gonna give you 3. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, so band together. Obviously, it's deep. This thought is deeper than it has to be. This is just where I go, because I like to get deep. Like, I like to. That's what she said. Anyways, or that's what he said. Anyways, so for me, it's like, who do I band with? Who? Obviously, no 1, 2 people are the same people. But it's like, we're starting to really narrow down, at least when it comes to race. I guess that's what this conversation is about, for real. We're really starting to narrow down, like, what nationality do you rep? Because it's like, do I say African American, or do I say Nigerian? Because that's what I have the most of inside of me. I got 25% Nigerian. But do you know that people that got a lot more Nigerian gonna be looking at me like, nigga, do you know anything about Nigeria? And I'll be like, honestly, I don't know. Orishas? That's the extent. Not the extent, but that's the extent. You know what I'm saying? So then it starts to turn into like, oh, okay, no, we're not talking about that. We'll talk about, you know, like your Zulu heritage or something. It's just kind of like, what aspect are we talking about when it comes to race? And then it's like I said, this Germans shit. I hate Germans, but I really gotta be honest. I hate Germans, and yet granddaddy so-and-so got German so much in him that it's running in my body. Ugh. I feel like that's a real big dig on Germans. But how could it be, though? How can I be prejudiced against my own people? No, I'm playing. This is how all that starts. I can say everything because I got it all in me. I just can't talk about Asians. I don't got no Asian in me, so I can't talk about the Asians. But every white person can get it because I got all y'all inside me anyways. It's like, I mean, that's me joking, but I'm saying it's kind of like, at what point, like, where are we drawing the line? Because if the one drop applies, nigga, you know what I'm saying? I could be saying all kind of like prejudice terms, just cause, just like how any white person that got a little bit of black in them, they'd be like, nigga, you know what I'm saying? And we just be sitting there like, well, he can say that shit, he got one drop, you know? So I don't know, I'm coming to this place where I'm starting to be less angry about like, oh, well, let's band together, or, you know, let's not keep the black men down, or Or in one of my videos, I was talking about like, who's your God? And it was kind of based on race. That conversation, like I was like, black people that are Christians are dumb. Because that's not your God. Like, Jesus is not for you. You know what I'm saying? Not saying the concept of Jesus isn't for you, because that's not true. It's that name, though. And so now I'm getting to a place where I'm like, so if Jesus is for white people, I should be able to say Jesus because I got 30% of white in me. And now I am stuck because I didn't put myself in a box. You see what I'm saying? I was going on this one thought, and now I'm like, I can't even sit here and root for a community of black people, because I'm sitting here being like, no, actually I gotta do some more research, because the truth is I'm not just black. And that actually kind of gives me some relief, because growing up I was always not black enough. Always. None of my siblings were. We were always whitewashed, washed out. We were always just not black enough. You know, so of course that makes you want to be more black. But anyways, now as an adult, I'm just thinking to myself, like, you know, and I don't go by mixed, because what the fuck? Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not 50-50 anything. I am your average African American. 70 African, 30 the white shit. And I'm saying that because I would have to break it down. I don't feel like it's not all European. But it's just kind of like, well, I guess, no, it wouldn't be. Is that considered Europe? Maybe I have to get all into that. The point is we're talking about 70% African, 30% white people. Sorry, my dog has a toy. So it's, for me, it's just getting to a place like, every little bit matters. Every aspect of a person matters. I believe that. And I know that because I have seen how in parts of my life, how one aspect of me, I see now how having my Mars in my first house with my Gemini ascendant, I see what that does to me. And that's one aspect of me, but I see it. So if I can see that one aspect of me, how can I not see the one aspect of me when it comes to the race, right? How could I just see myself as, oh, I'm just African, when I'm not? I'm not. That's just one aspect of me. So I, just like how I can see Mars in my first house under Gemini, just like how I see how that affects me, I see how the black affects me, but I also see how the white affects me, see how the Native American affects me. And so I'm getting to a place for me, because I'm knowing more, or I'm seeing more. And being a jack of all trades, I'm not specializing in one particular aspect of it all. I'm stopping, like I'm like on a train. And then we get to the stop, I get out, I take the tour around the museum. So I get a nice little crash course and I get back on that train, you know? So I'm not a master, like I go to the next stop and I keep doing it. I'm not a master of any of these museums. But what I'm saying is, something that does come with perspectives, multiple perspectives, something that does come with a jack of all trades, is a nigga really is at least average at everything. So for me, that really is like, I'm very open-minded. I really do see stuff from a different way. And so I'm getting to a place where I'm like, where I'm almost getting to a place where I'm like, what is this fake race war about? I know it's not fake, and obviously I understand where it comes from. But I'm saying that I'm getting to a place where I don't have enough oomph in me to fight a race war. I don't. Obviously people do and have it. But what I'm saying is I'm getting to a place for me where I'm just starting to be like, I'm not gonna lie, I can't 100% fight for the black race. No shade. But I can't, because that 30% in me is like, what am I supposed to do with that? You know what I mean? You're almost asking me to fight myself. This is getting a lot deeper than some of y'all are probably understanding. I'm not talking on the surface. I don't really mean a real surface war of like fighting physically. I'm talking about an internal thing. I'm talking about a culture. Like, how do I fight for a culture that I don't even 100% have in me? And by fight, I don't mean physically fight. I just mean rep. I just mean walk in your truth. How do I walk in the truth? That's not the whole truth. Ooh, ooh. That screen just went dark. That's what I'm saying. How do I walk in the truth? And it's not the truth. It's not. Walking as like, oh, I'm just black, which black in itself means African American, so technically that's still good. But it's like, most black people don't walk around like that. They walk around with this feeling of like the motherland. Yo, what are you doing, computer? My computer is out of control. Tell you, this thing is old. I'm so sick of it. Let me not say that. I'm grateful for everything I have, because obviously people don't even have computers, so fuck me. Not fuck me. Forgive me. So it's walking in my truth. This conversation wasn't planned out all the way. They never are. So sometimes as I talk, I'm making more sense of it. So I guess what I'm really trying to say is, walking in my truth, I'm realizing, hold on. Hey, stop squeezing that. Hold on. Walking in my truth, I'm realizing, give me that toy, because you're not listening. Okay. So I'm realizing as I walk in my truth, my authentic truth, I'm realizing that truth is not even the same truth I used to think it was. I'm realizing that walking in my truth really looks a lot of different ways. And honestly, as planet Earth, as humanity grows more and more, it's going to keep looking a lot of different ways. So for me, I'm just really getting to a place where I'm like, when it comes to the physical, the race aspect, I'm really getting to a place where I'm like, I get it. I get labels and boxes. I'm in the LGBTQ community. You know, I get me some labels. I understand the labels. But I'm really getting to a place where I'm like, one label, this black label, this like, ooh, like, you know, like, it's not really fitting for me no more, because I'm not sure where that black label is really coming from. And if it's coming from, I'm black, I'm black, and I'm proud kind of thing, or like, I'm get down. Sorry, my dog is like, he don't like it when I be talking to anything. He don't like when I'm talking to the camera and all that. He'd be like, you stop doing that. So if it's getting into like this black, and it's like to the point where it's in opposition with white people, I'm getting to a point where I'm like, that's not really my whole truth, not gonna lie. Because as I get to know my ancestors more, as fucked up as it is, as I get more spiritual, not making excuses, but I'm making space for my ancestors who did the shitty stuff they did. Because at the end of the day, I'm here. And at the end of the day, if we really want to get technical, spiritual, I am my own ancestor. If we really want to, like, that's probably over some of y'all's heads, if you really want to get that deep, like my soul. You know what I'm saying? Some of y'all might understand it on an easier understanding of like past lives, right? I'm just like, my ancestors can only incarnate into its own bloodline. So where did I come from? I'm obviously one of my own ancestors. That's getting so deep. I know half of y'all don't even know what I'm talking about. Don't worry about it. But I'm saying that to say, it's starting to really like that's just falling off for me. So I don't know what to do with that now. I don't know how to identify that. Actually, I do know how to identify it. I'm identify it by whatever the term is called. I have African in me, I have European in me, I have Native American in me. What percentages do you want? Like, what do you want? And if we want to sit here and make that a group, like how they did black, that's fine with me. I'm cool with making that a group. But the thing is what is the protocols for this group? Because races, that's how they become a race. They become a race by having a protocol. And unfortunately, black people, a lot of us got a lot of mixed percentages. So what is our protocol? That's probably why we can't get on one accord, because we aren't a we at all. Like, probably can't get on one accord because I got 13% German and you probably got 13% Polish. So the white in me and the white in you is two different whites. And maybe that's fucking up our community. I don't know. But what I'm saying is just kind of like, I don't mind communities and labels. It's just kind of like, what's the protocol? And I don't think the old protocols no longer fit the black community. And if they do still fit the black community, they don't fit me. I don't know. It's time to, you know, like, it's time to rebrand. That's what y'all influencers know. It's time to rebrand, like rebrand the black community, because the old branding doesn't actually make sense for us anymore. Anyways, I hope that makes sense, and if it doesn't, it makes sense to me, and I guess at the end of the day, this is all for me anyways. Bye.